Are the Texans better off now than they were at this point last year? Ownership says yes. Do they know what the heck they're talking about? Plus, I'm starting to really be sold on someone at number 25. Might drive you nuts. You might agree. I'll lay out my case. We got a lot to get into. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah, it's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not two. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days.
It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. We got a lot to get into. It's officially draft month, and the Texans are going to be selecting at 25. What in the world are they going to do? Do they even know what they're going to do? Should they know what they're going to do? I want to get into all that throughout this. Also, want to get into someone that I'm starting to kind of really warm up to when it comes to a possibility at 25. And it would be a polarizing pick. It would be a very polarizing pick. But I'm sold on it. And I think there's a lot of reasons why it makes sense for the Texans to say this name. We'll get into that. Plus, Sean McVay has spoken on Nick Caley. We'll hear what Sean McVay said. And we got a lot to get into. So let's hop right into it. Shout out to everyone in the chats. See, we got some people from Missouri. We got people from the UK earlier on SNL. So we're all over the place. Appreciate y'all for coming through. So Texans ownership, Cal McNair, Hannah McNair. They made the rounds today at the owners' meetings. Cody Stoots was on the scene, the other half of SNL. And Cal and Hannah said the following. They said, quotes, and we'll dive more into what they said yesterday or tomorrow on SNL. But they said we're better off this year versus last. And I asked the question earlier today, are the Texans really better off right now than they were at this time last year? I think you can make a strong case and say, perhaps. If you want to make a case, I think the case is relatively easy. If you look at the defensive side of the ball, I think you possess an elite defense at the moment. I think the unknowns can be a good thing. A lot of times you've gone into seasons where you've known how something is going to function, what it's going to look like, and it kind of sucked. We don't know what Nick Caley is going to be. We don't know what they're going to do in the draft. So you can make a case, sure. Texans better off this year than last. They're a better football team this year than they were last. Sure. Let's just go ahead and say, okay, sure, they're better off. Like Cal and Hannah would say. Or like what they said. But my thing would be this. Was that the goal? Does that make you feel better? The fact that you're better now than you were last year? You can make a case that they're the same. But what happened last year was the main opportunity that you get when you have a young, quote, hopeful franchise quarterback. The main goal is to be able to take advantage of that financial freedom and be able to maximize your roster to the best ability and surround your quarterback with the best talent, not just in 1 year, but for a couple of years. And the Texans failed that test last year. I mean, we see it. Shaq Mason's gone. Titus Howard, we don't know what he's going to do. They used that money. Stephon Diggs was a half-season rental. You don't have much to show for that. There's the dead cap with Stephon Diggs. What you couldn't control, Tank Dell, he's gone. So your offense has a lot of question marks. Your defense is really good. And you have a new offensive coordinator, which is a good thing. He could end up being good, but that's kind of an unknown. So is that the goal? Was that really the goal that we were talking about last year? Because I just don't think it was. So I don't know if that's like a moving the goalpost type of thing where, yeah, well, at least we're this, at least for that. But maybe like it's not like a 100% emphatic yes. Furthermore, the other thing that I think is interesting when it comes to this conversation, and this is a danger zone that I hope that Cal and Hannah McNair don't fall in. Because I think the football program that I value the most has fallen into it, and it annoys the living crap out of me at almost an unhealthy level. And that is comparing yourself to when you're at your lowest point to make yourself feel better. 3 years ago, where this organization was to where they are now, it's great. Yeah, you went through a rebuild for a reason. You got all those draft picks from the Watson trade, and now it's a completely different ball game. We know that was football hell. We know that. So the 3 years ago, if you want to go 1 year, like this year to previous, that's fine. But I always get incredibly annoyed when I hear, well, if you look at where they were 3 years ago, well, yeah, 3 years ago they were rebuilding. They were making an effort to rebuild. They weren't kicking the can down the road like the Titans and kind of balancing a rebuild with a aggressive mindset in the offseason. Like, they had a clear plan and they executed it. So I'm not saying that to minimize where they are right now. I'm saying that because that should not really make you feel much better. Because quite frankly, Cal McNair kind of had a hand in that. Now, I know there's other variables, and it's a blessing in disguise the way the Watson thing went down. They finally acknowledged that in Cleveland. But, I mean, you had Jack Easterby here. He was y'all's guy. I know now Hannah's saying POS like I was on the flagship. That's kind of one of her terms too. But, like, y'all had a hand in that. So, sure, we can say that they're better off this year than last. I don't know that makes you feel better. And quite frankly, the difference between this year and next is that it's going to become more difficult because the finances are going to become more difficult. So you failed miserably when it came to that opportunity. So are the Texans better off? We'll say yes. We'll agree with that, but I'm not going to throw a parade for Cal and Hannah because the Texans are better off now than they were last year. Not going to do that. It's not necessary. They've already had their parade. Remember, they were in the car at the Beyonce concert Netflix when the Texans were getting their ass whooped. They rolled out there. So that's their parade. You don't get a better this year than last parade. Sorry, Cal and Hannah. Let's respect y'all as a duo. I think y'all are doing an excellent job, but no parade here for being better this year compared to last. And they do a good job of letting Nick and DeMeco do their thing, which is something else that I kind of want to touch on here. I very much am enjoying the middle ground that DeMeco Ryans and Nick Caserio appear to have developed at this point in their relationship. And I know the other day DeMeco said that, they haven't had a lot of disagreements and they've kind of been lockstep. That's true. And I'll take him at his word for that. And quite frankly, if they weren't, that's not bad either. I think we've heard guys, we've heard B.O.B. and Brian Gain say they were aligned and they weren't. We've heard Rick Smith and Bill O'Brien say they were aligned and they weren't. Like, nobody was aligned with Bill O'Brien, but that was his favorite word to use. So being aligned, it's not like the biggest thing for the Texans. But I do think it's quite obvious that when Nick Caserio was first brought here, that there was a very, 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 very strong sense of fear that, much like Bill O'Brien and much like Jack Easterby, he was going to try to do everything the way that New England did it. And I don't think he ever really did that. And I think when DeMeco was hired, I think that Caserio kind of took a step back offensively, and they ran a system that he wasn't familiar with. And then that came tumbling down.
Damn it, Bobby.
And now they're kind of meeting in the middle where a guy from New England and a guy who might run some version of that type of offense along with whatever. They've described it as a hybrid. He's here. And I think now Nick Caserio can take that 20-plus years of experience that he set aside and the pride that he probably swallowed in being open to other ideas, and he can bring that to the middle with DeMeco Ryans. Like, I don't think there's any insecurity now about what New England philosophies they bring. I think that ship is kind of sailed. Nick Caserio has shown that he's not stubborn. He's shown that he's willing to be a team guy. And quite frankly, if Bobby Slowick doesn't kind of get overexposed and show that he's not capable of adjusting, he's not capable of leading guys, this never happens. Because Nick Caserio might not have had a choice, but Nick Caserio was willing to do that. And now I think it's going to be interesting to see how that whole thing works and how this whole thing comes together. So I've enjoyed seeing the DeMeco and Caserio middle ground. I think it's a good thing. Speaking of Nick Caley, let's hear what Sean McVay said about him. Cody Stoots was at the owners' meetings. Here was what Sean McVay, God, look at that classy mofo. Here's what he had to say about your new offensive coordinator.
I think their background, I mean, these guys see the game from a big picture lens. Nick has an infectious energy and enthusiasm. He's going to bring it every single day. Jerry's got just a great demeanor. I think they'll balance each other out. He'll be a great, addition to be able to be in that quarterback room with CJ and some of the other great coaches they have. But I'm fired up for Nick. He'll do a great job. I think he and DeMeco are really great personality fits, and fired up for my guy Nick. I think their background, I mean,
fired up for his guy Nick.
From a big picture lens.
So there you go. He says he sees it from the all 22 view and yada, 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 yada. So there's Sean McVay talking about Nick Caley. We don't know anything about this offense. We don't know anything about this offense at all. We know nothing. We know it's going to be a hybrid. That's it. Other than that, we don't know what this offense is gonna look like. Kevin asks, how many years away are the Texans from an AFC championship appearance? I mean, I don't know. They could be a year away. No, get there, get hot, figure it out. They've been a game away the last two. Don't know. I mean, it's not like a year's away, right? I mean, it's a put it all together on one Sunday the last 2 years. So like, as far as the notion, and that's the other thing I think about this in as far as like setting the bar low, I don't think if they make it to the AFC championship, that should just satisfy everyone. Should win the mofo. Like if they choke in the AFC championship, don't let them tell you, well, we went somewhere where we never went. Well, that's y'all's own fault for being mediocre for 2+ decades. It's not anyone else's fault. So yeah, I mean, as far as the AFC championship game getting there, they've been close the last 2 years. That's not something that just because you get there, you accomplish. I mean, you feel great about. Like, the Cincinnati Bengals get to the Super Bowl and they lose. You think they felt good about it? No. These opportunities just, they don't come that often. Sometimes there's variables and you end up not getting there. So we'll see what happens there. But for me, when it comes to being better this year versus last, the previous thing, what Cal and Hannah said, cool. Good for y'all. That wasn't the goal last year, but that's great. Good job. Hand clap. I have a case for someone at number 25. I brought this up on SNL, and I'm really starting to get excited about the possibility of this happening. His name is Omarion Hampton. He is a running back out of North Carolina. Now, some of you may say, why would you take a running back in the first round? Why would I not? If I think he's the best guy. Joe Mixon, we don't know how much longer Joe Mixon's going to do this. And regardless, they need someone else to help in that running back room. They've completely neglected it. And I don't think they went into this offseason saying we're good in the running back room. I don't think they did that. And there were opportunities in free agency. There might not have been opportunities to significantly improve the offensive line. There might not have been opportunities to significantly improve the wide receivers. But there were opportunities to add running backs. They didn't do it. My question would be why? What are they waiting for? And the answer for me is they're going to draft a running back. How early? Who knows? But if Hampton's there, I think you got to consider it. And here's another thing. When I was at the Combine and I asked Omarion Hampton about Joe Mixon because he mentioned him 3 times, he said that he'd met with the Texans. And if you've met with the Texans and you talk about pairing with Joe Mixon and you talk about looking up to Joe Mixon, kind of raises the eyebrows a little bit. Then there's the other factors. Well, how would Joe Mixon handle it? I think Joe Mixon likes mentoring younger players. He likes seeing those guys grow. He likes taking them under his wing. So I think Joe Mixon would do a pretty damn good job in that area. That's another thing. So there's that. You need better running back play. You can use multiple backs. He can help you in the short term. He might help you in the long term. I get that a lot of people say they need offensive line and wide receiver, but the way that this draft is shaped up, that opportunity is not high at 25. So what are the other ways that you improve your offense? You get a running back who can do a lot of things. You get a dog. I don't care if it's 2 Joe Mixons. I'll take that. So I'm starting to kind of warm up to the possibility of Omarion Hampton. I know in New England they valued a lot of running backs. They drafted Sonny Michel in the first round. I always use that example. San Francisco, they had a run game, and they traded for Christian McCaffrey. They don't think you need just one back. So I'm open to this Omarion Hampton thing, and I'm open to the running back. I'm always a running back guy, but I'm open to the running back. The other thing is, if you approach this draft, and this is going to be very frustrating, and you just push the running back thing back, it becomes even more difficult to get the back. It becomes extremely difficult to get the back and get in that before that running back run happens at the top. I don't want another Jawar Jordan. Okay, I don't want Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce is a complimentary back. If Omarion Hampton starts out with as a complimentary back, and he would with Joe Mixon on this roster, but you're able to see the flashes in game, and then eventually he develops into that workhorse, that's as good of a draft pick as you can have. That's better than a mediocre receiver. And this may be a moot point if Ibuka's there, or if even Tet McMillan, even though we've talked about him, if he's there, maybe they have to think about that. If Golden falls to him, I don't think that's going to happen. But if they did, it might be a moot point. Would you bet on that? Would you bet on any of those guys being there? So if you're going to take like a Luther Burden or something there, wouldn't you rather have like a guy who could be the best player at his position in this draft? I know Genty's the man, but sometimes it don't work that way. Some people think Omarion Hampton's right up there with him. So I'm not opposed to it at all in this situation. And we saw there's a lot of times where teams surprise you by taking running backs. We saw it with the Lions with Jahmyr Gibbs. Completely different factor, but they paired him with Montgomery and they haven't regretted it. They find ways to use the multiple backs. Obviously, the differing skill sets, people see that and they think that's what it has to look like. I don't think it has to look like that. But I'm in on this. I'm in on this Omarion Hampton thing. Derek says Ibuka is mid. He can barely get separation in college. What is that based on? I'm not questioning that. And I'll take your word for it. He's the all-time leading receiver at Ohio State. I know that the good ones leave early. But I mean, he's what is he doesn't get separation based on? Is that just your opinion? I'm just asking. I'm not trying to be a smartass. That's the first I've heard like he can barely get separation. Risque Barber, any chance that they trade up for a running back? Appreciate you for swarming the soup, Baba.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
So the thing about that trading up, I think that Sean Payton is gonna want a running back. And I keep seeing Omarion Hampton. I think Sean Payton might come up. Sean Payton, for as much as I've been critical of Sean Payton, he seems to have the running back strategy that I value in this draft, which I don't know if that's a good thing for him or a bad thing for him. But there keeps being, there's ongoing dialogue that Sean Payton might want the workhorse. And then Sean Payton might also want the receiving back, like the blue or something like that. So if you have to trade up for a running back, maybe if there's a Genty fall, maybe they decide to. Maybe if the Dallas Cowboys at 12 pass on Genty and he's still there at 13, which I don't know that he gets past the Raiders. But if he is, then maybe they decide, hey, we'll take Genty and Mixon. Maybe that happens. I mean, it was just a year ago, it was a very devalued position. And now all of a sudden, like we're talking about, two guys going in round 1, 2 or 3. So maybe that does happen. I don't know. We've talked about how Atlanta has no picks. Minnesota has no picks either. So maybe you trade up with those guys and try to figure something out. But who knows? I think running back is something that they need. I think running back is something that can be useful. And I think the opportunity presents itself to where running back could easily be the way to go for the Texans. A lot of people don't like the idea of drafting a running back in the first round. It's fine. But there's a lot of ifs. The draft is filled with ifs. This is a good one by Primetime. He says, if Tet is there at 25 and Hampton is also there, who are you taking? See, the problem with Hampton falling there is that means that something's seriously wrong, right? Like, wouldn't that kind of worry you? We talked about this yesterday. But if in this thin of a wide receiver draft, if McMillan falls to 25, doesn't that kind of concern you a little bit? I mean, it wouldn't me. Like, I think he's a good kid. I saw someone today, like, compared him to, like, Dez Bryant. I'm not saying, like, Dez is a bad guy or anything. I've seen him act a little nuts. But it's not like he has the same question marks that Dez had. Dez Bryant loves playing football more than anyone I've ever seen. Tet McMillan might not. There was some off-field stuff with Dez that came into question. But I don't think that they're, like, similar. I'll put it this way. If Tet McMillan were Dez Bryant, I would take him. I might trade up for him if he were Dez Bryant. You add a Dez Bryant to this thing? So there was never a doubt. Like, I think there have been doubts about McMillan as an NFL player by some. I don't think there was any doubt about Dez Bryant as an NFL player. I think the talent was blatantly obvious. So I'm just throwing that comparison out the window because I've seen multiple people in the chat talk about it. I don't think that's fair. But I would take Hampton. I'm on the Hampton thing. I think that drafting Hampton would be a quality pick, and I think it would be, I don't want to call it outside the box. I don't think it's like overly outside the box, but I think it would be a good direction for the Texans to go in with running back. So take that serious. And I like Trey Henderson too. I see someone in the chat bringing up Trey Henderson. I like Trey Henderson. I don't know when he's going to go. I think he's probably a second rounder, but they might love him. And that would definitely be Gibbs motivated. Probably the same type of vision if they did that. I know CJ would be excited, I think. Those guys talk a lot alike. Seem to have a lot of the same beliefs. I don't know what this means. This Jimmy sometimes throw them out there. Would rather have a sure talent than a hit and miss in round one. No shit. Like what? But I'm trying to. Did I read this wrong?
High-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
I would rather have a sure talent than a hit and miss in round one. Me too, my friend. Me too. I think anyone would. Tell me what a sure talent is, though. Is there a sure talent section in the draft? Because I think if you can tell me what a sure talent is in the draft, you can make millions of dollars with that. Millions of dollars with that. I would rather have a sure talent than a hit and miss. You and me both, my friend. I think DeMeco and Caserio would co-sign that. Chase asks, did DeMeco ask the mandatory tank question today? I don't know that DeMeco spoke today, but man, the tank updates. It is a mandatory thing. But yeah, there's no such thing as a sure talent. Whether you're drafted at the top, whether you're drafted in any position, there's no such thing. That'd be great if there was. That'd be sick. That'd be badass. You could just say, hey, I'll take the sure talent section. I'll take the sure talent wide receiver. Let's go with him. Thank you very much. Nah, sure talent left tackle. Let's go with that. Ginty is a sure talent. You sure? Positive? I've heard it. I've heard people say someone's a sure talent and did not work out. Goes back to the draft philosophy. When it beat it to crap. Exceptions and examples, they're the only draft absolute. Drink when I say that. I think there's anything there. Yusuf E says, you know what he meant. He'd rather take the safer pick than the high risk, high reward guy. What's the safe pick? At 25, tell me what the safe pick is, please. I think that would actually be I'm trying to think. Like, what is a safe pick? So if that's what he meant, I'm just as confused. Maybe not as much, but I'm just as confused. So what is a safe pick at 25? Help me. Because all the guys, like at 25, the reality is 24 teams have passed on those guys. Again, exceptions. We know that there's been a lot of guys drafted good in the 20s. But Kenyon Green was looked at as a safe pick. Let's just be serious about that, and let's not rewrite history. That had the feel of an extremely safe pick. It's the worst one that Nick Caserio has ever made. So I have no idea what a safe pick is. And I have no idea what a sure thing is in the draft. At all. Benji says, how pissed would you be if the Texans got Judkins and Henderson and made the running back room of the future? Crazy. I'd be pissed at all. I'm fine with running backs. Yeah, I would have no problem with that. Yeah, Trent Richardson, Mark Barron, safe picks. It's a fact. I'm telling you, there's no such thing as that. But what would be the safest pick? I'm asking y'all too. And I mean, I'm not picking on anyone in the chat. I mean, it's dialogue. It's fun. But what is a safe pick? Here, like in this at 25. Kevin says tight end at 25. I mean, is Loveland a safe pick? Like it's that. I mean, tight ends in the first round can be tough. There's again exceptions. Banks is safe. I get if he falls to 25, is he safe? I don't know what a safe pick is. It's dangerous when you start talking like that. Draft wise. So I don't think that's a thing. DeMeco Ryans yesterday, he brought up Brevin Jordan. And he said, yeah, we expect big things from him. We could break out. I don't listen to DeMeco Ryans when it comes to talking about offensive guys that are going to break out. Like that's the one thing. It's just kind of in one. I don't even try to break it down. I don't even entertain it. I bought Brevin Jordan stock. I'm intrigued by it. But what DeMeco says has no impact on how I feel about an offensive player. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a negative, if we're being honest. Like, how many times has he talked about guys breaking out? He said it about Kenyon Green. He said it about Titus Howard. He said it about John Mechie. He said it about Damian Pierce. He continued to talk about how Shaq Mason was playing fine. When DeMeco talks about offensive guys, it's just blah, 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 blah. When he talks about defensive guys, it's like, oh, okay. I can see that. I can see that. Someone says running back might be the safest pick. You could be right. Could be right. I think that might be the right answer. That might be the right answer for sure. Brevin Jordan's not a blocking tight end. Like, I don't know where we've started thinking that. He improved his blocking, but he's not a blocking tight end. I think we just saw how bad Dalton Schultz was, and you kind of trained yourself to say, okay, well, this guy stinks. So correctly, if you put it's a correct line of thinking. If you put Brevin Jordan there, then it would look a lot better than it does with Dalton Schultz out there. That's right. But he's not a blocking tight end. He's literally been playing tight end for, I think, 7 years of his life. He was a running back before that. That's why he's so fast. Like, everybody gets surprised. Oh, look how fast. He's a running back. That's what he played. Miami made him into the tight end. So he's improved his blocking, but he's damn sure not a blocking tight end. Your blocking tight end right now is Cade Stover. The other two guys are very, very, very limited when it comes to blocking. Very limited. But a Brevin Jordan breakout it doesn't solve the tight end position. Now, DeMeco says that he thinks they're going to be good in that room, which cool. That'd be great, man. Like that would be awesome. If Nick Caley is able to do that. That would be awesome. But a Brevin Jordan breakout is him being like a productive tight end, 35 catches, 40, and just a productive number 2, number 3 tight end. He's a weapon. Like he's a weapon. He's not someone that is just like your every down tight end. That's not the vision that they have for him. So we'll see what happens on that. I cringe when DeMeco talks about offensive players. I really cringe because of the lack of balance when it comes to defense and offense. But we shall see. What if Cal McNair had come out and said this? You think Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans would have got pissed? So Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, I think I was at his place today. Didn't he found Home Depot? I went to Home Depot twice today. Put some stones on the side of the house. 500 pounds of stone, just boom. Little project. Got to straighten it out a little bit, but it was fun. Arthur Blank, the head of Home Depot. Big fan of your establishment, my friend. He said this today, and this is from the great Orlando Ledbetter. Met him at the combine. Good dude. Been following him for a while. Falcons owner Arthur Blank said the following quote: "The emphasis during this draft will be certainly on the defensive side of the rock. And it's pretty obvious to everybody, I would say." Isn't that how we kind of feel about the Texans right now? But we're just kind of scared to really feel like they're going to do it because of the DeMeco factor. DeMeco, no O. But how about that? The owner comes out and just basically the draft strategy is this. I mean, I guess the team behind Atlanta and the team's back, they don't have to worry about trading. If the owner's coming out and saying, we'll focus on defense, if you're a couple spots away and you want an offensive guy, I guess, I don't know. I feel like Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans would get pissed if Cal did that. They're like overly weird about injuries. DeMeco's, I think Christian Harris was day-to-day for months. They're not going to eliminate any possibilities. But yeah, Bo says we can't count on anything offensively. All we can do is trust that those guys are taking the corrective actions needed. I'm on board. Appreciate you for swarming the soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued for sure. And I don't think they've half-assed it. Like, it hasn't been for a lack of effort. Now, does that make you feel better about the whole situation? Don't know, but it's a different philosophy. It's a different guy in town. They're at least kind of creating competition and hunger in the locker room. But on board is great. On board for sure. But when DeMeco talks about offense, I'm kind of I'm not really into all that. But what if Cal just gave away the strategy? So I asked this question on X. And it's always funny when I bring up the The good old X. Let's see what we got here. I asked the question about the McNairs. Let's just kind of look on X and see what people had to say when I asked this. The McNairs say the Texans are better, blah, blah, blah. Why or why not? Joseph says every year CJ gets to play, the Texans will get better until year 7 and 9, which will plateau, and then it's downhill from there. No idea what that means. Ladarius Henderson's burner says our defense, yes. On offense, on defense, yes. On offense, no. Yeah, I think that's the correct answer. AKA Chris X says, I think they are in a sense that they have more complete proven roster just because we saw how much better Petrie played in the slot. Kamari playing great. Stingley breaking out. The interior D-line balling. We retained almost everyone and brought back Rankins and acquired CJ Gardner-Johnson. Okay. We have some spots to fill, but I agree with that. Defense is better. Just need a young wide receiver, couple of linemen. No way they're better on offense. Someone says 100%. Look at the starters. Kevin says CJ Gardner-Johnson, Nick Caley, Popovich. These two are uncertainties, my friend. Exciting uncertainties, but those are uncertainties, friend. Defense better, offense blah blah blah. Defense yes, offense no. So it's a very unbalanced squad right now, which happens. Like that happens. The problems with the past, and it is in the past, but it's how we got here, is the evaluation was bad and the acquiring of players was bad by Nick and DeMeco. So that's got to change. And that's the discouraging part, is hopefully that changes. But the one thing I will say to go back to the topic that we started this off with is how do we feel about CJ now versus last year? Because that's the most important thing. And one of my OGs, one of the best media folks of all time, man who threw a water bottle at my head before, Randy Galloway, close friend of John McClain. By the way, I'm going to lunch with McClain on Monday. Found a new hole in the wall diner that we'd never been to. That's kind of something that we like to do. So I'm gonna go get some lunch with the legend on Monday, John McClain. But he always told me, Randy Galloway, it's all about the quarterback. You're talking all this crap. You're talking about this, blah, blah, blah. It's all about the quarterback. So based on that, how do you feel about CJ this year versus last? Now, the feelings that the confidence that you might have had might not have been as good as it appeared. Was that blind faith? Or did we get just kind of surprised in the way that stuff played out? It happened. And that's why I kind of caution towards blind faith. Because I don't necessarily think it's blind faith to think that Bobby Slowick would get better last year. Now, we didn't factor in that he wasn't much of an alpha leader and he couldn't adjust, but I don't think that was blind faith. I think it was blind faith to assume that offensive line was going to be good. I think that was a little bit blind faith. Yeah, I mean, CJ is a good quarterback. Traden on the chat says, bro, CJ is a good quarterback. He had Bobby. Yes, he did. That is correct. He did have Bobby.
Damn it, Bobby.
Who did he have his rookie year again? Who was here? Who was the OC, man? It's been a long time. Damn, my old age is catching up to me. Who was the OC for CJ's rookie year? Anyone? We'll see what happens. with this next go round. But I mean, I don't think you feel better about CJ now than you did last year, no matter what, unless you're just going to no matter what. But we're just talking about a year ago. We're just talking about a year ago. You thought CJ was like in the second tier, right? We thought he was in the second tier of quarterbacks. I'm excited to see what this offense looks like. I think CJ's kind of laying low. I think he learned from last season. I think he said that. I think he's going to have a hell of a season. I think CJ's going to be ready to go. He's battle tested. He's good to go. You don't feel better about him than you did last year. And you can't. If you do, you're crazy. I don't even think Ultimate Fan feels better about CJ Stroud this year than last. Or anyone. Like, I don't think Toro feels better about CJ Stroud this year than last. So, yeah, like you don't. So, and we'll see what it looks like. And sometimes what's on paper doesn't end up playing out. We thought they were going to have one of the best wide receiver cores in the league. I know we talk about the injuries, but I mean, it wasn't performing like one of the best wide receiver cores in the league when they were together. Maybe it's a Bobby thing. So there that is. I don't know what Traden's talking about. I'll let you double up. CJ also made Nico better, just like Bobby Landry. I don't know what that means, man. CJ made Nico look better, just like Bobby. I no idea what that means. No clue. But I appreciate you for being here, man. Rock Dub P on the chat says, I'm liking not seeing him as much on social media compared to last offseason. Was he a social media guy or was he like a media tour guy? I don't remember like seeing him like was it Insta or something? Because I don't see CJ tweeting or anything like that. I'm assuming you're talking about like the media tour stuff. Yeah, that's great. He probably needed a rest. But the other reality is the way that he played last year compared to the year before probably wasn't as much demand for CJ Stroud. So that kind of helped too, if you didn't want to see him do that. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I picked that kid on the Panthers. Yeah, I like Bryce Young. For sure. I definitely did. No doubt about that. I think he's good. He was everywhere because he was hot rookie year. Yeah, I mean, like, let's just be serious. I think that the season kind of burned him out. But like, if the Texans win again Kansas City and then they beat Buffalo and they're in the Super Bowl, like, is CJ Stroud going to be laying low? That'd be hard. It'd be hard to do. Yeah, it'd be really hard to do. Yeah, Bryce Young, he's good. No problem with Bryce Young. Thought he was good. Still think he's good. They liked him better too. They like Bryce better too. They still tried to trade up for him. So we'll see what that looks like. Jaden Daniels, CJ 24. So you think there's going to be a drop off of Jaden Daniels? Maybe. I mean, he set the bar pretty effing high. Like, and I think that's the other thing. Like, if Jaden Daniels doesn't make the NFC ship this year, but he's good, like, does that mean he got worse? I don't think so. I don't think it's all related to how far your squad goes. But we saw CJ's surroundings get worse, and we saw him not control what he could control better, which is what he said. So we'll see what happens there. No one's down on CJ. You're not selling the stock. You're not selling it. It's just not. It's not as hot as it was last year. But it's all right. You don't. He's not gonna like. You're not gonna. He's not gonna uninvite you to his birthday party. CJ's not gonna like. You're not gonna be his +1 at that Michael Rubin White party. Like, if you feel better about CJ Stroud right now, which was the original question, that's crazy. That's crazy. Jay on the soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
We don't need CJ calling a timeout, the 2-minute warning this season. Yeah, that wasn't good. That wasn't good. Trying to call it when he was sacked afterwards. Yeah, that wasn't very good awareness at all. I don't understand is this the time to kick Bryce either? Like, this is the other thing about this. I don't want to circle back to this. We're going to be wrong about drafts, but this is just kind of the direction that this thing has gone. And I thought it was spam at first, but I guess it's a real thing. TXX, I don't think he watches football, so I'm just going to put him in timeout for a second. A lot of spam going on there. Spam feel. But is this the time to really be kicking Bryce? Like, I think CJ has, if the Panthers had it to do over again, the old time machine method, if the Panthers had it to do over again, they're drafting CJ Stroud, right? Like, yes, they're drafting CJ Stroud. Now, what does CJ look like in Carolina with no draft equity, Frank Reich, all that? What does he look like? Who knows? What does Bryce Young look like with Bobby Slowick, all that? Who the hell knows? I have no idea. But last year, if you wanted to crap on Bryce Young, that was easy. Hell, during the season when he got benched, that was easy to crap on Bryce Young, just like it was with Baker Mayfield at times. I don't know if this is the time. Like Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley, I'm not saying it was like as extreme of like kind of a closing of the gap, but after year one, Jets fans were running. I mean, they were basically saying that Derek Stingley can't hold Sauce Gardner's jock. It's not even close. Texans screwed up. How the hell do you take that guy over Sauce Gardner? And then we saw year two, it got a little bit quiet. You didn't really hear it. It was kind of a little bit quieter with the Sauce Gardner thing. And now year three, I think Jets fans would trade Sauce Gardner for Derek Stingley at the snap of a finger. I think they would more than willingly do that. So unless you went into hibernation for a year or something like that, I don't know if this is the time. Like, let's focus on the Texans. Like, the Bryce Young thing is, the ship has sailed. Texans got the top dude. He separated himself. But this is not the time to be kicking on Bryce on Bryce. This might be the time to buy Bryce Young stock, quite honestly. You're not selling CJ Stroud stock. You might want to buy some Bryce Young stock, though. For sure. 100,000%. In the life of Colby, how do you figure they tried? Dude, it was in the news, dude. Like, it was all over the place. It was reported. They wanted Bryce Young. What are you talking about? Like, that was a multiple report. How you came up with that scenario, it was reported. They tried to trade up for the first pick. They wanted Bryce. They liked Bryce. I'm not pulling it out of my ass. They liked him. He was QB1. That is a known fact. They got very lucky because of that. Jets fans were lost in the sauce. Sting was always the choice with his ball skills. And the best thing about Stingley was he was not a Lovie Smith type of corner. They drafted him for the long term, and he ended up fitting into DeMeco Ryans' system. Now, I don't know that they figured that DeMeco Ryans was going to be the coach or anything, but they figured that Lovie Smith was not going to be. So they didn't draft a corner that was that fit into a system of a coach that was not going to be there. So there was that. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, no doubt. 100%. Sometimes it'd be like that. Sometimes it'd be like that. And you get a little luck. Sometimes better to have that. Which is what they got. Draft, I mean, it's an unpredictable thing. Very unpredictable thing. CJ Stroud's agent. Speaking of CJ Stroud, his agent got a little bit of love today. I guess Jerry Jones said that he didn't even know his name. And he got kind of piled on by NFL writers. Dan Orlovsky said something. David Mulligetta is a mofo, man. I don't think that's a dude to really mess with. He negotiated the Horn contract, and then he got Stingley even more money. And I saw Dan Orlovsky kind of piled on. I thought it was funny. Dan Orlovsky, first of all, when he said that the Texans, he was defending Deshaun. And he's like, there are crazy things going on. And Deshaun is like he was speaking in favor of Deshaun. He wasn't speaking about those potential things. You have no idea what's going on. And he completely flip-flopped. And this is if you want to watch TV with like kind of a trained eye on ESPN, Ryan Clark will never talk bad about Mulligetta, guys. It will never happen. It will never happen. I think there was talk that maybe Mulligetta might have even negotiated his contract. I know he's been on the podcast and he talks about him a lot. Ryan Clark is a absolute, like, he's going to network, do whatever he can and all this type of stuff. Like, as soon as the Mulligetta stuff happened, like, if any quarterback not named Deshaun Watson had that type of stuff, and I think there's a way of covering it fairly, but if anyone would have had that, he wouldn't have talked about it in the same manner. Orlovsky at one point, he was kind of questioning Justin Fields. And I remember that Mulligetta kind of came at Dan Orlovsky, and all of a sudden, at the snap of a finger, he was breaking down film of Justin Fields. And we used to have the audio of this. And he was just completely praising Justin Fields, and I was so wrong and all this type of stuff. It was crazy. So I think Orlovsky's kind of in that David Mulligetta camp too now. Indirectly, like as a result of kind of the backlash that he took. Which good for him, man. That's what he needs to do. Go ahead and do it. I don't see any problem with that. I mean, I don't, if that's how you want to roll, I don't take him as serious anymore, which I'm sure hurts his feelings, but that's just kind of interesting to see him. He said something like, oh man, this isn't going to go well. He's one of the best. The agent element this time of the year is always crazy. The Deshaun Watson thing, the other thing that I thought was weird was how, I guess, the Browns owner, Jimmy Haslam, came out and said, yeah, it was a big swing and miss with Deshaun. And we obviously made a mistake, and that like made the rounds, and people were saying Deshaun's going to be mad. Deshaun's going to be upset. I really don't think so. I think Deshaun knows that it wasn't a successful journey to Cleveland. It was very, very profitable, but he knows it wasn't successful. Like, Deshaun's not a dumb guy. He knows that. So I don't really think, like, I know giving Deshaun the benefit of the doubt is not like the most popular thing around here. I've done it whenever it's been appropriate. But, I mean, he's just stating the obvious. No problem with that at all. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Be sure to subscribe, like, ride along. Y'all are mean to Deshaun sometimes in the comments. I understand. Omarion Hampton at 25. Texans better now compared to last year, although I don't know that that's like incredibly awesome. And tomorrow we'll get more into this, what the McNairs had to say on SNL at 4:00. Be sure to subscribe, like, ride along. It is draft month, and times are getting really, really fun around here. It's about to intensify. This is kind of they're kind of chilling right now. You see them at the pool, the beach, all that, owners meetings. Boom. About to intensify. We're going to start getting trades in the next probably couple of weeks. There's always that one draft trade, although there's talk that there might not be that many draft trades this week or this draft. be fun. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Subscribe, like, right along. Always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Appreciate it.
Opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too.